Welcome back to Corbin AI, where I'm showing you daily how to start leveraging artificial intelligence in your personal and your business life. And this is a popular demand video that has been requested a ton on this channel. If you're coming from one of my PDF videos, this is going to be the perfect video that's going to align right with your pain point. I'm going to show you how to create a system that will automatically cipher and get relevant data that you care about with the PDFs you work for in your personal or your business life. In particular, I've been getting a lot of requests in, dealing with either longer form PDFs or PDFs that you want specific outputs for. And I've been kind of giving the response of building out a Zapier workflow using OpenAI's API and essentially getting specific outputs based on what you care about. What I've realized is there is a ton of people that are requesting this from me. So I'm gonna go ahead and just build out a full-on tutorial in this video. So make sure, if I can speak, to leave a like for the value you're about to receive, as we're gonna go ahead and dive into a very complex topic, but it's gonna allow you to expedite a lot of your processes. All right, so with that being said, of course, you're going to need a Zapier account, and the flow we're going to build out today is we're going to do something very simple. We're going to have it so when you add a file, specifically a PDF file, to a Google Drive folder, it's going to go ahead and do the entire process that you may have typically done in ChatGPT's front end when it came to, the different plugins of Ask Your PDF, AI PDF. Let's go ahead and just do it all automatically. Because typically when we are consulting with PDFs, we're already going to be asking the same amount of questions, especially depending on your industry. You're already looking for specific keywords in a PDF. You're going to learn how to do all that in today's video. To start off here, we're going to start with this example legal PDF here. And in this context, for this video, we're going to make out an automation in the specific context of legal documents. Now, this can be applied to anything. This can be applied to, real estate, client leads, whatever it may be. You're going to learn how to automatically deal with PDFs now. No longer do you have to cipher through studies, no longer have to cipher through anything. Let's go ahead and learn how to do that. All right, so let's go ahead and begin. We're going to go ahead and come over to our Zapier account here. We're going to create a new Zap. Now, sadly, the Zap I'm going to create today, I cannot share, but I'm going to give all the code that is relevantly available, what I talk about in the comment down below. So you can go ahead and copy it directly into your account. So I'm going to go ahead and rename this to PDF task. We're just going to start here. So we're going to start with a very simple trigger here. And we're going to do a trigger of Google Drive. Now this could be Dropbox, this could be whatever cloud function you use. We just use Google Drive here. And we're going to do the event of adding a new file to folder. Let's go ahead and let this load real quick. Okay, so we're gonna come over here. We're gonna say new file and folder. This helps it so that basically you can designate a specific folder within your cloud function, or sorry, not cloud functions, we're thinking of SaaS, within your backend where once you drag your PDF in there, it will only be triggered based off that. So for us, we're gonna go to our courses account here and we're gonna hit continue here. So under this logic, you would essentially designate a folder within your Google Drive that is meant for this specific automation. For us, we're gonna use an example folder here called PDF task. We're gonna continue here, we're gonna test this trigger. One thing I want to point out here is sometimes you run into errors with authorization. What I suggest you to do, so make sure no one has access to your underlying link, is I suggest you to make it so that when it comes to sharing, we're going to go ahead and choose anyone with the link as an editor. This is going to allow the API to get access to specific content found within that PDF. So for us, we're going to go ahead and find the specific file that we were just dealing with. I'm going to hit title here, not that. Okay, so we're dealing with legal example PDF, as you see right here, and just to run through it real quick. This is a big document. So you're going to learn how to basically parse big documents like this. This is a 27-page mock. It's not a real legal document. Or it's real in the sense of like the contents and the structuring. It's just not an actual legal document that's been used. But this is 27 pages. So you're going to learn how to parse large documents like this, which is, I think, is a huge pain point found within ChatGPT's front end and stuff of this nature. One thing I want to point out as well is Zapier is a free software in the beginning. OpenAI is going to cost you pennies on the dollar when it comes to doing this artificial intelligence. And lastly, what I'm about to show you, someone could start a artificial intelligence integrated SaaS that charges you a lot more money for what you're about to see here. So this is a really, really optimized way to approach these kind of work process. So I'm going to go ahead and hit continue with select a record here. Now, one thing about with Zapier is the first issue you'll run into is not being able to get the underlying contents found within that PDF. This is because Zapier doesn't allow you to access certain data in certain file formats. You'd have to use some type of third-party service. So what we're going to do here is that the first step we're going to do here is we're going to actually convert that PDF into a Google Doc so we can actually access the data that is found within that PDF. So we're going to do upload file. We're going to continue here and continue here. And we're going to choose our folder. So we're going to use our same folder here. We're going to do PDF task. We're going to choose our file, which will be file exists but not shown. We're going to convert the document. We're going to say true. We're going to give it a new name. We're going to say legal. You'd give it, this is going to be the consistent name that occurs every single time. So for our context, we're just going to do legal test doc. And if you need to have it so that maybe you're doing a bunch of different documents, you want to keep it so that it isn't a fixed text here, let's actually go ahead and name it just, legal example.pdf. This will make sure that it's unique and you know exactly what you're targeting here. So I'm going to just say legal example.pdf doc. Okay. And then we're going to hit no file extension. We're going to hit test this step, and this will automatically convert our PDF to a Google Doc. And what's great about this tutorial is at the end of it, I'm going to actually run through this automation again, and we're going to actually just do it with a whole new PDF, so you can see it live. You can see everything associated with it. So coming over here, as you see, we got our legal example right up there, right above there. I click on here. Now it's a Google Doc. So same contents, but we're in Google Doc mode. Therefore, we are now able to actually access the data or the text found in this Google Doc. We're going to have to do some code here. So we're going to do JavaScript, or we're just going to do code. And we're going to go ahead and say run JavaScript. And continue here, and we're going to go ahead and add some relevant information here. So we're going to go ahead and provide the input variable, the data that we are testing here. So it's going to be text, and then we're going to go ahead and come to upload file. It's going to be file text here. So what Zapier does is that it has the data, but it doesn't show it, which obviously isn't going to help us in our context. So we're going to do file text, and then I'm going to go ahead and paste this code. This is going to be in the comments down below. Essentially what this code is doing is that it's fetching the underlying data associated with that new file, and then we are just splitting it, or not splitting it, but we're outputting the text found within that Google Doc. This number right here is going to be the most important number. So that number right there indicates how many words you're going to output. Therefore, knowing your industry, knowing the typical PDFs you work with, understand what a healthy number would be in your context. So for us, if I come over here, I hit Command A, Command C, and go to something like word counter and Command V it, I know I'm dealing with a document that's 15,000 words. So whatever your industry is, go a little above it. So for this context, I'm going to just do 20,000. But if you're dealing with bigger documents, you're going to want to go ahead and increase that number right there. From here, though, I'm going to hit continue. I'm going to test this step, and this should give us the entire output found within that Google Doc. And what's amazing about code and what you'll learn is that it, from a surface level, you're like, that's so many words. How would it be able to do that? But in reality, it can output that many words that fast. It's just the data associated with that many words is not even megabytes. It's so little. We're talking about kilobytes. Okay, so from here though, now that we have outputted the entire associated document, which looks crazy, but as an AI model, we're able to read that. We're gonna go ahead and teach you how to deal with really large documents. Because alternatively, someone might suggest to take that entire output and push it towards a GPT prompt, which is possible. But the problem is that then you incur issues of dealing with too much data in a prompt, therefore the outputs aren't good, or the outputs are take too long. So we're gonna add another code block here. Now, in theory, if you're dealing with very small documents, you can skip this part. But this is for people that deal with very large documents. So we're going to just go ahead and call this chunk. And we're going to go ahead and do, we'll just say entire text output. Okay. And then for chunk, we're going to do JavaScript again. And we're going to go ahead and use some code here. And the purpose of this code is we're going to go ahead and chunk by a very specific amount of word count. So we're going to do our input data here of text. Our text is going to be this entire output, which is called results. And then from here, I'm going to go ahead and paste in the code block we created here. And let's go ahead and explain it a little bit. So a couple things. First thing is this is going to identify how much data we're associating with each quote unquote chunk. So for us, we're associating 5,000 words. You'll see what this means when I do the test here. Actually, let me just do the test and I'll explain the code so this makes a lot more sense. I'm going to go ahead and test that real quick so you can kind of see what the output looks like. Okay, so we have chunk 1, 5,000 words. Come down. Then we have chunk 2, 5,000 words. And this is chronological. This isn't a repeat. So 5,000 words. And then coming down here, we got chunk 3. And then just to confirm that, if you come all the way down here, the last page has information about contacting. And as you see here, if you're an account administrator, this has stuff to do with, the very end of that document, specifically this formula, safetyforward.com. Come all the way down here. We will see that we are dealing with the end of the document, and that URL is found there. So we went ahead and chunked this entire legal document into specific chunks here, which is good. This allows us to handle larger amounts of data and not run into errors. So let me go and explain that code a little bit more here so you can understand intuitively what's occurring here. So we're dealing with identifying our chunk limit or our word count associated with each data block. From my experience, I would say the max you'd want to go for each data point is 5,000. This can be increased if you choose to do so. It's just you don't want it too much in one data point, as that's going to lead to worse outputs for the AI you're about to see later. The next thing we're doing here is we can kind of skip through this. It's not too important for you to really understand, is we're identifying each specific chunk with a unique identifier. So as you see here, we have ID1, ID2. And the reason we're doing this is you'll see later is that allows us to call upon specific chunks with specific use cases. So as you see here, for chunk 1, we have ID1 here. We come all the way down here. For chunk 2, we have ID2. So that's going to come useful later on. And then finally, you want to identify how many chunks that are typically found within your underlying PDFs you work with. Therefore, if the typical PDF you're working with is, 10,000 to 20,000 words, if I was dealing with a PDF that was 20,000 words, and I typically deal with PDFs with 20,000 words, you would add another chunk here. All you would do is do Command C, not that, Command V, and then you would just name it chunk 4 and 3, and you're good to go. For us, though, we don't have to worry about that because ours is only around 15,000 words. Therefore, the output we have here is sufficient for what we want to incur here. So now, this is where the fun begins. So I'm going to show you two major ways we can kind of look at the data found here and analyze it. It's going to be in the specific context of a legal contract. So whatever your industry is, you would kind of just reproctor the AI for whatever that is. And the prompts I'm about to show you are probably not like 100% perfect, but enough for you to kind of understand the direction you want to go. So from here, let's just go ahead and show you one way to approach this. Let's assume that we didn't need to chunk it, or we did need to chunk it, but we only needed a certain, contents found within the PDF. We can do a ChatGPT block here, and we can go ahead and do an event of conversation. Hit continue. If you're brand new to Zapier and AI, I suggest you to check out. I'm gonna go ahead and link like one of our major videos when it comes to integrating OpenAI with Zapier at the very end here, or maybe I'll link it up there. That's just gonna give you an idea of like how do I even integrate ChatGPT into Zapier. You can watch that and then come back here. But from here, we're gonna go ahead and do a user message here. We're gonna say, based on this legal contract, we're giving context, compress it to the main points. Now this is going to be whatever you want. What I suggest you to do is this though. So you're going to compress it to the main points, and then my period here, I'm going to say legal contract, and then you're about to see how we utilize 3.5 and 4 in unison here. So we're going to say chunk 1, and we'll go ahead and hit GPT 3.5. We're going to go ahead and up this model to 16K. This is going to allow us to deal with larger amounts of data here. And we're going to go ahead and make sure we have a memory key here. Memory keys ensure consistent outputs at scale. So we like the output and how it looks like. That can ensure the next time I add a document, it will look the same. So we're going to go ahead and compress this data even further to its main points. Now, whatever your industry is, maybe you want to compress it to very specific things found within the contract or very specific things found within the type of PDFs you deal with. That's kind of where you would proctor it there. So we have that relevant information. So if I scroll down here, we will see that we have the reply. If I can find it. All right, here we go. So it takes those 5,000 words and it compressed it into this paragraph. So this contract is for the use of a mobile app that restricts use while moving, specifically while operating a motor vehicle. Users are not allowed to tamper with or disable apps, motion restriction functions. So it took 5,000 words, compressed it to that. If you want specific data points, then the way you'd kind of restructure this is compress it to these guidelines. And then I'm going to go ahead and just put a period here. And then what I would do here is I'll put guidelines, state of jurisdiction, like stuff like this. And then I would just do this and then do this. And then it would kind of go like that. For now, though, we kind of have it sufficient to where we want it, give me a compressed contract. That's all I care about. So from here, though, what I suggest you to do is that's fine. If that's perfect output of what you're looking for, maybe the key points is all you care about, then you can kind of skip this part. But if you want to get a little bit more complex, what I suggest you to do here is add another ChatGPT block. With this ChatGPT block, we are going to go ahead and do an event of conversation again, and we're going to go ahead and do a model of GPT-4. So GPT-4, think of it as the more human level way of interpretation, while GPT 3.5 is kind of like, here's some data, organize it. So with this, we're going to say based on the summary of the first part of this legal contract, period here, we put contract, semicolon, parentheses, we'll do the output here, make sure I'm inside these parentheses. And the reason I do parentheses, which you might be asking yourself, is that it allows the prompt to understand that that is a single data point within its prompt. It doesn't overlap into later conversation I have here. We're just gonna go ahead and just say something simple here like give me a 1-sentence summary. Now that's very simple. If you actually wanted something very specific, you could ask it in that context. I'm gonna just do some GPT-4, and you can even grab upon other stuff for whatever your specific industry is. But for now, I can hit test that step, and essentially from there, I'd be get a 1-sentence summary. And what we just did there was we took 5,000 words, we compressed it into a paragraph, and then on top of that, we compressed it even further into a single sentence, a little long, but for short enough. This contract outlines the terms of use of the mobile app, and then gives us a more maybe articulate summary. This stuff you can go here where we're going to say our jurisdiction is California. I mean, this doesn't make sense as a lawyer. I'm not a lawyer, so I'm just going with what I know. So I'm gonna go ahead and continue. I'm gonna make sure I refresh the memory key. If you don't like an output, refresh the memory key. So I'm at 5 here. I'm gonna retest this step. I'm not sure if that's gonna change the output a lot, but maybe knowing context that we're dealing with a certain state for this contract is better, and maybe you get something crazy there. So okay, so it just adds a little bit more context. So that is stage 1, or that's like approach 1. Now you might be saying to yourself, okay, that's great. That's great if you're dealing with smaller sized PDFs. If you're dealing with larger sized PDFs, let's go ahead and figure out how to solve for that. We're going to add something here called a paths block. And this is why I brought up the IDs earlier in that output, because this is where the IDs come into play. So from here, we're going to do something really cool. This gives you real perspective on essentially how crazy code is. I'm going to go ahead and just grab these and just drag them down here because they should be over here for now anyways. I'm going to hit cancel here, like this. Okay, so as we know from this document, it was over 15,000 words. So we got 3 different chunks in this context. And we got ID 1, ID 2, ID 3. The way we can do this is we can do first, or just say chunk 1. So in your specific context, maybe there is a certain type of PDF that you deal with on repeat. So is it a research PDF? Is it some type of briefing for a client? Is it a legal contract? Whatever it may be, these PDFs typically have similar structuring across the line. And if they don't, then you would just create a whole other automation that are specialized for a different structured PDF. So in this PDF though, let's assume that every legal contract comes in, has similar structuring, which we can safely assume. In the sense of when I say structuring, I mean like in the beginning, like are we talking about client A is recognized as WebCafe AI and client B is recognized, like that kind of stuff, right? So from here, here's what's super cool. We can go ahead and use our way of that ID, that unique identifier, to make sure we're going down the right path. One thing I want to point out here is that when you see chunk 1, that doesn't show up in Zapier's automation. That's only you as a user can see chunk 1. So that text of chunk 1 will never be seen by the user, or sorry, by the automation. And why that's important is that that means that I can't just do simply contains chunk 1, because the actual text that's associated with it doesn't have chunk 1 in it. That's just for you as a user. What it does have though is those unique identifiers. So as that ID 1. Okay, that's cool. So we're gonna do ID 1 underscore, and then watch this. It's gonna say green. Perfect. So even though I gave it 5,000 words, it was able to find within like 2 seconds and recognize that, oh, okay, this is chunk 1 because we have ID 1. Now to prove this is correct, if I go to chunk 2, which has ID 2, hit continue here, it's going to show me yellow because it doesn't contain ID 1. Really cool stuff here. So knowing this, we can do that. We can go ahead and proceed like this. So we got chunk 1 here, and logically we can make this chunk 2. And all we have to do is text contains ID 2, One thing I want to point out though is that the reason this is unique and specific to the formatting of your PDF is you would only use this in the context that maybe typically in a PDF document, you only care about the first 5,000 words. Therefore, this allows us to kind of filter out the rest of the output. And maybe in some context, you only care about the middle part of a section or the end part of a section. This just kind of allows you to filter it out. So in reality, you don't have to go the extra step here of adding paths. You could, in theory, just do a simple filter block. Plus, this works on lower plans. So maybe in the context of a lot of PDFs you work with, you only care or only want to use an automation for the beginning half of it. You would kind of proceed like this, chunk one, and the same kind of logic here. Knowing this, if I want to go ahead and kind of do an entire summarization of this PDF. So let's say everything is good and I want to actually just only specifically look at the entire PDF. We can go ahead and do that this way. I'm going to go ahead and rename this to section 1. Rename this to section 1 sum, or let's say GPT-4 summary. And then from here, all you need to do is copy and paste. So I would duplicate, kind of proceed like this. And this is very specific to if you have very large documents. It is always better to kind of have it all in one kind of section or one, as limited amount of GPT prompts as possible. But in theory, all I would do from here is go ahead and go to section 2, part 2 of the contract. And then instead of chunk 1, we would do chunk 2 here and kind of proceed with our structuring from there. So a lot of times, maybe if there is a legal document you add, you would kind of, run through each and every single chunk, and then you would just find specific stuff you care about and kind of output it that way. So knowing the process to dealing with longer documents now, let's go ahead and just pretend in our specific use case, we only care about the beginning section, and we can kind of proceed like that. Knowing this, what we can do post AI, AI looking at your PDF is a bunch of stuff. So either one, you can send it to your Gmail. 2, we could send it to a Slack channel. Let me go and show you real quick on Gmail. Gmail is very simple. So Gmail would just be, you choose an event, maybe send email. With email here, I'm going to do my courses account here. And then from here, let me go ahead and just make my life easy. Copy that and hit 2. And then we can go ahead and just take our body here. And with this, maybe the GPT-4 summary is what we care about. Grab that, and we can go ahead and do a subject. And the subject, we can actually use the underlying title here. So maybe the title would have had a better title than legal example. We're going to hit continue here and test this step. So this will send it to myself. Therefore, when I drag that PDF, I will automatically get an email to myself. Okay, and this email right here is from a past tutorial we did. We showed you how to make automatic lead PDFs based off a whole meeting and conversation will automatically create the whole thing. Pretty cool stuff there. But as you see here, we got the email, we got the specific sentence associated with that email. So just to show you on a surface level how this works, let's go ahead and proceed like this. We're going to go ahead and publish. I'm going to go ahead and add a new legal document here, and we're going to get a new email. So it's published, it's live, it's good to go. We got PDF task here. Let me go ahead and come over to my desktop. I got another random free legal template PDF that I just added right now for a consultancy agent agreement. So let's go ahead and check it out live here. So if I come over here, come over to history, it might not show up right away. So we're going to wait a little bit. So the reason it doesn't show up right away, just so you can have more insight on why, is they do a thing called polling in the back end of these automations. So some stuff is instant and some stuff is a poll. And a poll in this context is it's checking every 5 minutes whether there is a new Google Drive or new file in your Google Drive. So don't get worried if you look and you're like, where is it? It's because that's just how the automation works. You're going to get pulled every 5 minutes. So pretty soon here, we'll see an automation running. Now, as we wait for that, as I said before, the end conversion event in this context will be an email. In theory, we create a whole nother Google Doc for it. There's a bunch of stuff we can do, but for this tutorial, we expect an email here with the specific name of free consultancy template and, -doc. So let's see. Okay, so it's working. As you see here, you can actually watch it live. So if I hit play here, you can come over here, success. Look how fast code works. It's amazing. It's going. If you see waiting, that's fine. That just means it's processing it. We should be expecting an email here. One thing I want to point out here, as I'm not going to do it live, but a lot of people, if you wonder how to calculate the underlying cost associated with this, you can use something that we have here called the automation calculator. If you want to go ahead and come to webcafesoftware.com, you can click one of the shop items down there. You kind of click out, and then basically you'll find here is an AI usage calculator. And all we need to do in this context is select our main model. So most of the time you're going to choose GPT-4 here. You're going to do the amount of task per run. So in this context, as we see, we are using a total of, and a really easy way to see how many tasks would be, see how it says 5 plus. Essentially, you'll never count the trigger. You're only going to count these. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So in total, this costs around 6 tasks. We put 6 there. Tokens per run. You can real quickly find that by doing data out, scrolling down. Tokens uses 429, and then I'll put that there. And then from here, you would input the number of runs at scale, the cost per task. So just as an example here, we can go ahead and just give this example. Let's assume that our task per run is this much. To find that, you just divide your monthly cost by the number of task, and then we go to calculate. So it costs 19 cents, and at scale, you can kind of push. So if I did this 52 times, it only cost me $9. So knowing that, I come over here, look at that. We got our 1-sentence summary for this consultancy agency. This contract is a customizable free consultancy agency template provided by Docular Limited. Now, obviously, there's probably a lot of context in the beginning there that was kind of more oriented towards the fact that it was a free contract, but you just saw this entire flow happen automatically and happen live. So if you felt like you learned something today, make sure to leave a like, as it's free and helps us here at Corbin AI. And let me know if you want more content around this topic. There is one thing I could have done here to take this to the extra level, is I could have added a loop in theory, and a loop would have made it so that it would have, maybe better compressed larger PDFs at a, more expedited rate. But for now, this shows you a really structured and fast way to start automatically compressing and finding data within your PDFs. So if you like this kind of content, you can check out the playlist at the end here. It shows essentially me jumping into all 5,000 apps found on Zapier and seeing how AI can integrate with either one. I either might do that one or the other playlist we had here, which just shows, modern tools for AI and your business, which can be very, very useful. And then I'll make sure to link that one video where it essentially shows you from Zapier and OpenAI how to even connect them. It's like a 40-minute plus video. You learn how to actually start using ChatGPT in the context of AI. So no longer the front end, but without further ado, I'll see you in the next video.
Thanks for tuning in. And yes, surprise, I'm an AI avatar. Make sure to explore more here at Corbin AI, where we demystify AI for your personal and business life. Until next time.